Welcome to Front Range Dream Builds. Today Kyle gets to work rebuilding the shady berms at the top of Eezy Peezy. Because this is his first video, I'd like to backtrack a little bit before we get into the build itself. If you're not interested in a short story, that's okay, you can always skip ahead in the chapters below. For those of us who ride, whether it's bikes or skateboards, we all have the same dream, and it's a dream that all of us have talked about many times while shooting the shit with the homies. It's the hope to one day have your own spot, maybe a mini ramp, a pump track, a flowy set of trails, or the epicness of your own backyard skate park. Since he was in high school, Kyle has had the same dream, one that he's made loud and clear to anyone that would listen. He dreamed of a studio apartment, with a 10-car garage, a giant barn, and land. Lots and lots of land. Unfortunately, after an extensive search, Kyle found out that that exact property does not exist, but last year he bought the next best thing up in the mountains of Colorado. With the first part of his dream now a reality, and a new big bike on order, it was time to grab a shovel and get to work. He started with this jump. But after spending hours staring at the lip, he decided that it might be best to build something a little chiller, so he could get used to his new bike while he eased his way back into riding. That decision gave birth to Eezy Peezy, a fun, mellow, but just sketchy enough line down the center of the property. After getting a few top-to-bottom laps on it, and getting somewhat familiar with his new bike, he decided the line was no more than a rough draft, but with a little planning and some brutal manual labor, it could make you giggle with just the right level of spine-tingling goodness. Today we focus on the first berm, a sloppy, poorly built, spectacular example of underachievement. Before Kyle begins to dig, he must first tidy up the build area. Loose dirt, twigs, pine cones, pebbles and pine needles must all be swept away to properly dig and access the prime dirt beneath. If you are a lazy bastard, you may skip this step, but I can guarantee you that getting a proper and consistent hard pack will be an absolute nightmare. With the current dry conditions, a quick dousing is necessary to make the dirt a little easier to work with. It's no substitute for rain, but with a little time to soak, your wrists will thank you. Because of monumental levels of laziness and impatience, it is necessary to spend some time cleaning up mistakes made from the original construction of the back of the berm. Stacking fresh dirt on grass and pine needles is for dum-dums, don't do it. To help reinforce the back of the berm, Kyle has collected some large rocks to stack along the lower half. Not only will this have a bitchin' look, but it will also require less dirt to reach the final height. He later decided to switch these out for bigger rocks from the bottom of the property, but couldn't film the swap because of technical difficulties due to not charging his camera batteries. Before adding fresh dirt to dirt that has been previously packed, it is a good idea to scratch up the area. This will help the layers adhere to one another when packing, which will add structural integrity as the berm grows in height. Now let the back-breaking suck of brutal labor officially begin. To fix his previous failure of attempting to create a flowy berm, Kyle plans to make it bigger and change the overall shape. At this moment, the exit of the berm leads you directly towards the tree on the right, triggering your frightened twig and berries to engage the brakes. By widening the exit of the berm and digging down the inside, Kyle will accomplish several things. Firstly, he will have more room to work with, which will allow him to change the shape of the berm and guide you away from the tree. This will also generate mounds of fresh dirt to use, making the berm itself bigger and easier to ride. It is critical to fill in the gaps between the rocks as you go. Tilting them back and adding fresh dirt underneath will provide more surface area to rest on, which will create more stability to the back of the berm. Once you have done this to the lower rocks, you can start to add more rocks to the top by repeating the same process, adding height to the berm itself. Despite the overall peacefulness of living in the mountains, it does provide many distractions, especially when it comes to wildlife. Depending on the time of year, there can be several large rafters or flocks of turkeys sprawled across the property. At first this is pleasing to see, but then you quickly realize they are basically pigeons, just bigger and dumber, that leave a skid mark of tar like poop across your land. Only a complete asshat leaves a banana peel next to his camera gear, inviting the unevolved creatures to come for closer inspection.
You guys too. Let's fucking go. Shoot.
Occasionally the jakes, or juvenile males, forget the pecking order of the land and need a proper reminder that Thanksgiving is not the only day to be concerned for their safety. After teaching a long overdue lesson to one of the feathered interlopers, Kyle was able to focus on getting the rest of the rocks into their new homes on the back of the berm. When working around trees, it is inevitable that roots will present themselves. If you can, work around the larger ones and try to incorporate them into the line for a more natural look. It's always a good idea to make a marking of your estimated dig area. This will give you a nice visual reference to go off of while you piece together the radius of your berm. It will also help you to color inside the lines and stay on track while swinging a pickaxe. As Kyle continues to make progress up the berm, he repeats the same process with each new section. First, he always starts to dig on the inside of the berm where it will be the lowest or deepest, gradually digging shallower amounts of dirt as he works his way towards the face. This will accomplish two things: one, it will make the berm look and feel bigger, but more importantly, it will give water an area to flow that guides it away from the riding surface of the berm. Legit water drainage is crucial to building a berm that lasts. Then, after adding several layers of dirt, Kyle will rake away the larger rocks from the fresh dirt and remove them from the face of the berm. These tedious steps are repeated throughout the entirety of the build, creating a berm that hopefully flows equally well in both riding and water drainage. I swear Kyle spends more time staring at the build than actually digging. He says it's necessary to figure out the line, but more often than not, he looks like a crazy person alone in the woods talking to a pile of dirt. After time to reflect, and an unhealthy number of minutes spent gazing at the ground, it has become painfully obvious that the exit of the berm is anorexically thin, and will require substantially more girth before packing. The overall height of the berm feels adequate, so we can start using the new dirt to accomplish this. With loads of new dirt deposited on the exit of the berm and its overall health taking a turn for the better, it is time to reinstall the water runoff pipe. At the moment, there are no intentions of building a redneck water park, so it is necessary to give the water an exit point. Without this, certain times of the year will produce flowing rivers of water that will snake their way down the trail, destroying everything in its path. Kyle repeatedly checks the angle of the drainage as he digs, to make sure water will be directed away from the trail once it enters the pipe. It is very important to get this right the first time, because next he plans to extend the berm past the water drain itself, to help guide the rider away from the tree after exiting the berm. To accompany the fresh soil, Kyle adds a couple of large rocks over the drain pipe to extend the cohesion of the berm a little further down the line. Now that the overall shape of the berm is beginning to look like an actual rideable feature, it is time to take a second to reinforce the back of the berm. Kyle is going to try something a little bit different for this. Using an action hoe, the plan is to take a thin layer of earth from the lower inside of the berm and use it to hand pack the areas on the back that require it. This slow and tedious process is vital to the overall sturdiness of the berm, adding stability to the back where it needs it most. Back in the berm itself, Kyle begins to process the dirt that will become the final layers on the face of the berm. The loose dirt created here will need to be filtered of rock and other debris. To do this, Kyle Jimmy rigged a makeshift sift, separating the good dirt from the unwanted. From here on out, all of the dirt will pass through this process. Having fresh, rock-free, clean dirt to throw across the face of the berm will make packing substantially easier and give a better final result. With prime soil now covering the riding surface of the berm, it's time to get some packing in. Using the flat side of a shovel, Kyle will first push the dirt towards the top of the berm while applying downward pressure at the same time. This will give him a rough shape to work off. Just smacking the ground with a shovel will not work to actually pack the berm, instead it will cause large uneven dents that don't bind together. To accomplish a legitimate packing, you will need to slap and push, or slap and pull the dirt. This helps to bind the granules of dirt together and keep them from sticking to the bottom of your shovel. Because the dirt is so loose, he will need to repeat this process a few more times, soaking the berm before and after each packing session. If you possess the time, patience, and strength of wrist, your berm will become harder and harder with each pass. You will feel a difference with each slap of the shovel and even hear the tone of your packing change over time. While this part of the process does suck, it is a crucial part of completing any dirt-built riding feature. It's the cherry on top that makes it pretty to stare at, and stimulates your private bits when you blast down it. After cleaning up the entrance and a few more packing sessions, Kyle now finds himself with a berm fit to start his vision for what's to come on Eezy Peezy. Next time on Front Range Dream Builds, we will rebuild the second berm on the line and finally get some test runs in on the new features. Until then, stack it and pack it, then grip it and rip it.